Hi, my name is Neil Jenkins. I'm from Jenkins Electrical Maintenance Services. With you today, just coming for a new landlord who's just purchased a new property. Just going to run you through the basics of doing what we call an EICR, otherly known as electrical safety check, electrical safety report, or periodic inspection. Periodic inspection report is the old version of it. The true name of it is EICR, which is Electrical Installation Condition Report. It's just a basic little 2-bedroom flat, and I'm just going to run you through some of the bits and pieces that we find in doing these reports, and issues of what you'll find sort of in your own homes maybe. So yes, okay, right, so let's get started. Okay, so first of all, we've just got basics untidy cabling. Not the best, but it's nothing really wrong with it. Right, as part of these reports, we check for sockets being loose, obviously for any cracks, make sure the switches are working correctly. Okay, onto the kitchen. Right. Have a socket hiding down in the corner there. Okay. It's quite an old installation. Right. First thing we find is we have a gas cooker with a nice bit of flex cable just disappearing inside some boxing in the wall. Very handy, very accessible, which it is not. Right, next thing, we look under here. We have a nice little scale master, or scale watcher as this one's called, which basically wraps around your pipes and supposedly keeps the scale away. So, not too bad, just very untidy wiring. Our main concern is our little junction box here. 4. We've got 4 wires going into our junction box. All cords are showing. So not cable. The white part of the cable should be inside the junction box. If there is any red and black wires, it is classed as dangerous and a potential risk of electric shock. Okay, on to the next one. Under the sink, let's get our light. Here we have a nice little socket with 4 wires going into it. A normal socket should only really have two wires, one feed in and one feed out. You can take an extra wire for a spur, but 4 is a definite no-no. Bonding is in place. Labels missing, the earthing label is missing. Okay, on to the next. Here we go, metal light fittings. Big one for metal light fittings is to make sure there is an earth supplied to the fitting. Again, with switches, if there's any metal switches, you must make sure that the inside of the switch is earthed. Not earthed to the back box, but earthed to the actual faceplate. Here we have standard bedroom. Again, metal fittings. We'll check these over later. Okay, what have we got in here? Base little cupboard. Again, we have a wire coming off of that, which goes into the bathroom into a shaver point. Our main concern on that is the fuse that's inside here must be rated at either 3 or 5 amp. If it's rated at 13 amp, then it's far too high for what it's being used for. Right. Here is one, a fan heater. Not advisable. Right. And here we have our consumer unit. Our mains. Very scruffy, untidy wiring everywhere. But our main concern in here is up here. We have connections here on the lighting cables. As you can see, if you look closely, this bare copper has been cut off, which is the earthing to the supplies. So that obviously needs immediate remedial, because these circuits have got no earthing to them. Okay. Open the board up, and we have the old style of split load, which is okay under current regulations. Every circuit should be RCD protected, and as you can see here, we have a main switch. These two circuits here are connected just to the main switch. They do not go through an RCD. So it's not an actual fail, but it's a recommendation. Okay, right, that's all. That's all for now. I'm going to be getting on with some testing. Hello again. Right, we're back to our EICR. We're ready for round 2. Going around disconnecting things and looking into stuff. It's turning out into a bit of a nightmare. I would say, looking at the property is like maybe 1940s, 1950s. The history, old couple have lived here for many years, and from what I can see, it's very much been a DIY. You find a lot of the older generation, the old boys, do class themselves as handyman DIYers. Electricity is not something to play around with. It can and it will kill you. You play with pipes, fine, you'll get a flood in your house. You play with electricity, it can be the end of you. Or it can burn your house down. It is not worth the risk. If you're not sure what you're doing, please always call your local electrician. Most people will come and give you a free quote, even just to look over something, and they will let you know whether it is safe or dangerous. So, anyway, right, let's carry on. Okay, so first things first. Here we are back in the lounge. First things I find. This is a fuse spur which has been connected into the socket below. This is a good thing. If you're adding extra sockets and things from one socket and you want to spur off 2 or 3 times, then you must always put one of these devices in. This must be the first one before any other sockets. And this is the correct way they've done this. So from here, it goes on onto the next one. Unfortunately, they haven't haven't sleeved the earth wires correctly. They put black tape on them instead of the green and yellow earth sleeving. But apart from that, they've had a good go. Okay, from there, you then go outside. Have a nice little socket on the wall. Again, it's getting a bit old, fill it with snail crap by the looks of it. Again, the earths have not been sleeved correctly, but apart from that, it's not bad. You've got bundle of cable hanging above, which we'll get to in a minute. Okay, so we're back inside. So from that socket, it then goes up the wall and comes into this little one. Another fuse spur. Bit tight. cables should always be left with a bit of slack on them so that you can at least pull the front cover forward and work on it. Best way to do this is when you push the wires into the socket. If you make something off, always what we call a butterfly effect. You make the shape of a butterfly wings inside the back of the box, and that helps to fold the cables back without them getting damaged. Okay, again we've got earths not being sleeved. Bit tight, but apart from that, that is going out to that big bundle of cable that we just saw. Fuse is in place, switch is ready to go. That is a dangerous situation because that cable is just hanging outside with just a taped up end. So if that had been left switched on, somebody could have undone that and grabbed hold of it, and who knows what could have happened. So that will be all disconnected and made safe. Okay, then, well, let's start here. See, I've moved the fridge out of the way where it was before and found another nice little surprise. Here we have a nice little connection. We have the original conduit. This is a downstairs flat, so a lot of these old flats were done in conduits which are placed inside the wall and everything. So you have the cable connection there. You have these two cables which we saw earlier. There's 4 wires going into the socket under the sink, so that disappears in there. And then you've got this real rough connection, which again should be covered in an enclosure. That should not have any bare wires like that on show. That comes through here into this one, and then spurs up again into this one. Unfortunately, this is not allowed. This is an excessive use of spurs. From each socket point on your ring circuit, you can spur once. So that means that must spur into one point only and not then be spurred again. Because what you are doing is you are overloading the first original connection. Okay, so back to the kitchen. Here's our cables. Here's everything's all crammed into one socket, which again is wrong. It's joining the ring main into one position, where really the ring main should be split. There should be a flow and a return, same as the water supply, I suppose. We call it flow and return, but it's not. It's just a ring, but they should be have separate legs going all the way around the house and back to the fuse board. Okay, right. Our water. That's supposed to be our water bond. And look, that's not doing much use when it's loose like that. It's not getting a proper connection, so pretty pointless. Okay, here's our flex that's coming off our cooker. I was very surprised to actually find a socket behind there. I was expecting some sort of dodgy cut off end put into connector blocks. So that comes to there. Right, so first of all, back to our earth wire. Earth wire, we have a connector block right here. Again, the main earth bonding should never be on a connector block. It should be a solid joint, like a crimped joint or something like that. It's not allowed because these things can very easily become loose and just pop out, and then you have no earthing supply on your pipe work. So okay, so here's our, again, back to our junction box, and every live and neutral is all crammed in the same place. First of all, I thought, okay, it's 4 legs of the ring all crammed in, but no, after following the cables and seeing where they go to, 2 of these are spurs. So again, we've got excessive spurs. We've got 1 cable that comes up to our cooker supply, and then the next cable goes off and comes up above to our socket next to our boiler. The other spur comes up and goes to a spur for our boiler. Okay, so again, this needs to be sorted out and done properly. Okay, now in regards to our boiler, we have some nice little cross bonding, which again, due to the fact that not every circuit has RCD protection, a lot of cross bonding should be in place. As you can see, however, this cross bonding is pretty bloody useless. There we go. That was just touching the pipe behind. It wasn't even connected. Again, look, the things are all loose, and we have the same on this end. It's loose and not even connected. That's tight, so that's okay. So that's not a good start. Okay, let's move on. Right, good news is our light fittings. I've checked the light fittings. The metal light fittings are all earthed via the metal conduit that is running through the fabric of the building. So that's all good. Okay, however, we go to our light switches. This is a very old system of light switches, which has got these silly little plastic lugs. As you can see, there is no earth wire showing anywhere at all. Again, with these lugs, these are classed as floating lugs, so they would give no protection at all to a faceplate with regards of earthing. So even if there was an earth on this back box, that earth would never reach the faceplate because of these plastic lugs. So again, boxes like this should be replaced for the new modern type, which have got one fixed metal lug, which will always give a good earthing straight to the faceplate. So here you could not have any metal faceplates because one, we've got no earthing at all, and the fact that we've got these in place. Okay, so what we got here? We've got our sockets in place, as you can see, very sort of short, tight cables in all positions. The other thing we've got here is also the old strands, what they call the old stranded cabling, which again I would say is sort of 1940s, 1950s, which should be tested thoroughly. So if you have an electrician coming in doing your EICR, they must test these cables for what we call insulation resistance. If you get it's quite common to get bad readings on these type of cables. I would personally say this place, with all what I'm finding here, needs pretty much a rewire. But I've still got to do a few testing on the cables yet, so we'll see. At the moment we're just running around doing visuals. Okay, again we got earthing in place, no green and yellow sleeving. I don't know why there's some sort of black sleeving on it. Okay, we've got a dodgy bit of loose cable which is hanging out the bottom, not fixed well, so that's got to be sorted. Okay, back to our cupboard. Okay, so this was again our shaver point. This has been open, a lot of wires all crammed into one little box, but it's all there, it's all okay. Sleeving's on. The fuse carrier literally just fell out as I popped it open, so that'll be a change of faceplate and tidy that up. But luckily it did have a 3 amp fuse in it, so that's protecting the shaver point. So that's that one sorted. Okay, with regards to our fan heater, we have these 3 little points here. What we have is a new bit of 2.5 mil cable running to our heater supply. Because what I did find was we had all the bathroom lights and everything is on a 16 amp supply. So straight away that's cautious. So, but when I found out, let's say it was on a bit of 2.5 coming straight here to the heater. So okay, so the heater is then protected by a 13 amp fuse. But then when it goes to lighting, this has to be fused down to a 5 amp fuse to protect the lighting cables, because obviously the lighting cables are only going to be like 1 mil, 1.5 mil. So they have to be protected for overload. Okay, again we've got another switch. This one is slightly different because this is another old style. You can see there is no back box. All there is like a block of wood. It's like a wood case thing, like a wooden box that sort of they used to make up and slot into the walls years ago. And the screws literally just screw through and hold into the wood. Again, these are okay, but they're quite a hefty fire risk, because if those cables start to melt and get hot, then you've got the chance of the wood catching fire. So these should be replaced for metal boxes. Right, here on this side we've found this is a double pole switch which was put in those cables that had no earthing. They weren't actually the main lighting, they were some outside lighting. And this is a result of that installation. So let me stick the light on so we see what we're doing. There we go. A bit more light on the subject. Okay, so here we have an old-fashioned wiring. So somebody's used this wire to make up some outside lights, which, as you can see, has no earthing in it at all. So then it's been joined to these ones which went through that switch. So that's the result of that, and that's what we have to do. So that now is fully disconnected and fully made safe. So our consumer unit, again, quite a scruffy mess inside it. Looks like a plate of spaghetti at the moment, but so that needs a good tidy up and sort of just things positioned properly and things fixed back. So, but all in all, depends on what the landlord wants to do. So, okay, so on to the next stage now. Now we get the tester out and start testing everything out and seeing what results I'm getting on these cables, and then we'll decide then whether we need a full rewire or not. Oh, I do need to switch it off. Okay, alright, have a good day. I'll see you again soon. Bye bye.